Well, welcome to, let's see, welcome to, I see now I got to figure out how to stop sharing my screen here. There we go. We're just have an opportunity to open with PokerFace, that great band. Years ago, uh, Mark, let's see, Mark Topeka, his, he, I don't remember how we hooked up, but I think he was, well, certainly was a client, and so we brought Poker Face up, and uh, and so that was kind of cool. And we they came up to Pork Fest years ago, and so we found some of their music, and we're enjoying that. And so we thought we'd put it on the show. And actually, that was just on the fly, old photos from when I used to do Destination Freedom. We Let's see, I've we did Destination Freedom. We were setting up as um, a radio broadcast, and then for a year I did Destination Freedom as a local cable broadcast when I lived in Rochester. And so the cable studio had you could do public access, and so I would come in the studio on a Monday or Tuesday. I think on a Monday, and it was an hour broadcast. I had a guy. I remember back then it was Dave Candage. He came in and he was in the studio, and I'd set up this simple studio. I got pictures of it. I'll uh, I'll put those in. We'll do a proper photo montage, uh, and then we'll add that 30-second opening for that for the Destination Freedom. We'll end up doing a logo for that. But anyway, it's very exciting to have that on the broadcast this morning. And we're in studio, sort of studio. We're in the office today, and have my producer, son extraordinaire, who's running the studio. That's a good thing. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm glad you're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about some current events and things going on. Want to talk about what's coming up in the next in the next couple weeks, I guess. Let's see. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of February, and next week about this time will be. Well, I guess it would be like a day from. We'll be traveling out. Yeah, we'll be heading down. I guess we'll be heading down to Boston to get ready to fly out for Thursday morning. So I guess that's what this looks like a week from now. And I'm very excited about the trip to Anarchapulco, and I want to invite you to go to the Anarchapulco website and sign up for the virtual conference, if you will. So you can sign up. I think it's $150 or something, but you can sign up for that, and then you can see all the speakers. And yours truly will be broadcasting on. Not broadcast. I mean, I'll be on the main stage on Wednesday afternoon. So I wonder if we're having streaming issues here, Michael. It looked like I was streaming there a little bit. Little uh, little freeze frame there. So there's a nice Acapulco link, and check that out and be a part of that virtual conference. Or like I've saw a couple clients on last night's client call. Uh, we There's a couple of clients that I know of. I think there's more, but are going to also make the trip, so I get to meet up with them, and we're going to go have dinner, drinks, or whatever it is, hang out at the conference. That'll be an awesome time. And then Dollar Vigilante has their VIP summit. That's after the conference, and so. I'm going to be able to share some of our work with them, let them know that it is available to eliminate your income tax liability. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a difficult thing, but if you want to reach out to destinationfreedom.org, you can find out more about that, and we'd be glad to help you with that. And that's cool. So you can click on those links and it takes you right over. And then what else? So what I want to say for and again I'm dating this video, but um, so next week I probably because of traveling probably we won't do a client call. On Tuesdays, usually, we do a client call in which if you're a client, which means that you have a hold harmless agreement, you also are are in the passport process or you've done the passport process, then you can be a part of the client call and then you can ask questions about uh, whatever's going on for you and be able to have that support for you and in the process of separating yourself from government on multiple levels, but mostly associated with the federal zone. Um, that's some of our forte of how we uh, take care of people. So yeah, I'd love to meet you if you are seeing this on Facebook or you're seeing this on. Uh, let's see. Well, there's multiple outlets. YouTube, and then I think we also have a sister broadcast on BitChute. And again, if we have any troubles with any of these platforms, you can always find us on BitChute, or we'll diversify, and we have all these videos in our own coffers. We do, Michael, don't we have? Are all the videos backed up on? We have them personally. Have them? Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. So, I mean, even as is that where they're backed up, or do we have the actual video? Oh, that's great. Nice. We have that stockpile of old videos. We want to make sure we have those in our possession so that no other platform will control them. That's an important thing. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. And what I was going to say is over the next 2 weeks, um, we won't be doing a client call, and those that are signed up for the client call, you'll get a special email and link for that. And if you are a client and you want um, to be a part of that client call, then just email Ama at statecitizen at destinationfreedom.org. So then she can make sure that you get in on that broadcast. And then what else? Then and so next week we'll actually be traveling on Wednesday, so we won't do a call next Wednesday. But we may end up doing a call on the weekend. We'll pick a time and we'll end up sending out an email and letting people know that we're going to be on a call. Maybe it'll be on the weekend or something. We'll pick a time. It'll be a different time. It won't be at 7 o'clock, as far as I know, on that Saturday. And then the following Wednesday, I'm actually doing my talk from the main stage. And because we're on Central Time, it's going to be on top of this call here. So we won't do that next week, but we may do something earlier, or I think we could probably do something in the morning, Michael, like in our bathing suits. Yeah, it's very cold here in New England. Too cold. Not really very pleasant. I'm getting a little tired of that type of temperature and weather. But anyway, it's all fun until you slip on some ice. You don't want that. But anyway, but that's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you can look for that, and we hope you will join us. So if you are on Facebook or you're on YouTube or whatever, please like or subscribe to our channel so that we can have you be a part of our calls. All right. So anyway, that's what's coming up. And oh, the other thing that's coming up is we're looking to it's our interest in getting over to Liberland and being a part of the 10th anniversary for Liberland. If you've never heard of Liberland, you can check out this link right here and be a part of a brand new country. It's a micronation. There are a couple of micronations on the planet, and they have digital citizenship so that you don't necessarily have to live in Liberland. And there are plans to develop Liberland. I think it'll make an excellent conference center. And then all the Liberlanders can come in and just be a part of a free nation. And that will be kind of cool. So if that's the case, it'll be a joy. So anyway, that's going to come up in April. I think like the first weekend or second weekend in April. But we got to pick up our tickets and things for that. So that's coming up in April. That'll be here sooner than you think. We may be doing some broadcasts from Florida in the month of March, and we'll still do our broadcast. It'll be fun, and so that'd be cool. So we got a lot of plans, and it's cold, and we're gonna go places where it is warmer. So that's my commitment. Well, tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about just some current events, things like that. And I hope that you have alternative news sources or different people that you might, alternative media, people that have credibility or that have sentiment. I think of one of the people that we appreciate a lot is in no particular order, but we do like the Dollar Vigilante, which is Jeff Berwick. He does his walk and talks, and you can be a part of his. Uh, and you can go to Anarchapulco or look up Dollar Vigilante. I want to say it's .com, but it could be something else. I'm not sure. We have a link for that, Michael. We don't have a link for that yet. But anyway, maybe we'll embed it in the video or we'll put it in the bottom. Um, but yeah, that's a lot of fun. And usually he'll give current events and things going on in the world and all that. I don't have to cover any of that stuff because he does so well. Another great broadcaster that I appreciate and has a lot of credibility, and that is Ben Swan. And you can go to our media page on DestinationFreedom.org, and and I have a couple other people that I really like a lot. There's Dollar Vigilante. Thanks so much, Michael, for that. And so on Dollar Vigilante, you can go to their video page, and then he'll upload a whole bunch of different broadcasters and media people that are many times banned or censored and such. And so that's a great way to get some of that information. So that's going on. And so I want to talk a little bit about what some of the things coming up with this particular administration. So why should I care about what's going on in DC if I'm outside the federal zone? Listen, just because I've drained the swamp in my own life doesn't mean that the swamp and the swamp creatures aren't there. They're still meddling in my state. And so it always matters. And even though we're dealing with the federal income tax as one tax, you're taxed in in all of your meats and all of your drinks and all of anything that you buy, you are taxed. And now, because people are so stupid with respect to economics, listen, if you don't understand economics, you're not going to understand how you're taxed. If you don't understand taxation, my guess is that you'll probably be overtaxed, So again, are they teaching about taxation and how to avoid taxation in school? No, that's not the purpose of school. Purpose of school is to get you to obey. That's the purpose of school. So, and then it's also the purpose of school is so that you realize that there's only two options, Democrat and Republican. And so we're in America, we just do political sports. There's the red team and the blue team. And, they're doing a lot of local skirmishes and all that stuff, and they're playing in that. And then you have every 4 years, the Super Bowl political sports. And then, you're jockeying for the Super Bowl election. And then you might have your team might win or not. And the truth of the matter is, it's the same bird or it's the same entity moving towards, the apocalypse. And there's the right foot, the Republican left foot, and that's how you move down the road with left and right. That whole paradigm is working for them. And each one is despising the other, and each one has their own sentiment that resonates with their own group of people and despise the other. It's a perfect work system. So when you'll find yourself at peace much better when you end up rejecting both or hold them to a higher standard. I would say that the best of whatever the Democrats are, and typically if they would favor something that could be, not really, but like individual liberties that would be important to them, and they play that out in their own funky way. Then you have, but the Democrats tended to be socialists, so they're into communism like that. And then on the Republican side, or the other side, you might have business liberties and such like that, financial liberties, and you don't want government overtaxing you and all that, and yet you support big law enforcement, military industrial complex and all that crap, and you move towards favoring corporations, which may look like fascism. What's fascism? Business in bed with government is what Mussolini said was fascism was corporatism. And that's what we have. And so you have corporatism on one side, and then you have communism on the other side, and they're a marriage made in hell. And that's where America's going. And, you'll get people who are just stupidly blind patriotic of like, I've heard this same crap. If you don't like America, then get the hell out. Duh, stupid mindset. I want to be critical of government. I'm not critical of the beauty of America, but what is that? I mean, of course, the land from sea to shining sea is beautiful. And look, the American people are some of the most charitable people on the planet. Of course, we pay for every freaking thing on the planet. And of course, we have an amazing market here. So everybody on the planet wants to, embrace America, because Americans will pretty much buy any two pieces of crap you put together into one piece of crap, and like that it's never been put together. And yeah, I'll buy that. Remember, we bought the pet rock. You remember that? The pet rock? Some brilliant guy, look it up on Google, the pet rock, and see how much money that guy made getting rocks in a little box with holes in it like it had air, and he didn't paint them. It was just a rock, and people bought the pet rock. That's brilliant. Or whatever else you want to put together. So that's playing out. And the world right now, we're moving towards war. Why is we moving towards war? Because the Republicans are in party, and the Republicans support the military industrial complex. But don't think the Democrats don't support the military industrial complex. They buy votes, and so they're another corporation that's worth serving. Our representatives, they love that crap. The same thing with the educational industrial complex. And listen, I was just talking to someone tonight. They liberals constantly believe that if we spent more money on education, we'd have a better education. What a crock of crap. That is just a crock of crap. If you just look at just look at the logic and reason, look at how much education cost years ago and who was in control of it, local, whatever, and look at the quality of education and the test scores or whatever you want to look at. Whenever the NEA was created, and then look at where we are today in today's test scores and how much we're spending on education, and tell me we're getting our money's worth. It's a crock of crap. Government schools are bankrupt intellectually. Okay. It's a stinking mess. So, both parties support government control in that. Now, Trump is talking about decentralizing stuff. I think it's some of the best stuff that he talks about. And he has taken some action where, and like he did with the Roe v. Wade or whatever, when he was getting, things away from government and sending it back to the states. I was talking to someone tonight how that person doesn't like what she said. She didn't like states' rights. Literally said that, like she understands what the hell that is. But she doesn't like it that the feds aren't. She was saying that she recognizes that anybody that has federal grants, all these grants are going to be examined. Now, my sister is she works for government. And so, she knows she's in a place to where she's working out whether she's going to retire or her position's going. So they have sent a word out to everybody in the federal government. There are options depending on, whatever their situation is, but they're being invited to resign. And they're not just resigning, and because I was talking to her about this, they're not just resigning people, it's resigning positions. So they're not rehiring somebody up when someone resigns. They're resigning the position, and that's how they're dismantling it. I support that 1,000%. It's so freaking bloated. And you know these stories about all these, millions of dollars studies to study the farting habits of mosquitoes or whatever stupid study they're going to come up with, that we have to pay for. Not necessary, So yeah, they get to look at that, how bloated that is. So that's a real thing and happening, and I support that completely. I always will support decentralizing power all the time, because my sentiment is that you take away power from the federal government, and what's the number one reason we take power away from government? Because they're irresponsible. That's the number one reason, is because they're incompetent. Now, if the government, you can't say that in my opinion, I'd scrap the Constitution, the federal Constitution. Now, I've had conversations with the little missus and all that, but she fears or believes that if you scrap the Constitution, they would stay, and that they would just, that we, by scrapping the Constitution, that it means that now they don't have anything governing them and they're still going to stay in the power. No, when I talk about scrapping the Constitution, that's the document that created the federal government. So if I talk about scrapping the Constitution, that means it's done, over with, and gone. That's what I'm talking about. And what I would do is just go back to the Articles of Confederation. And if you just read the Articles of Confederation, it's very simple. One of the powers that the federal government has been given by the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 is their exclusive legislative authority in all cases whatsoever in their jurisdiction or in the District of Columbia. Okay? They have exclusive legislative authority in all cases whatsoever. That's a big breakdown, because we allow them by the Constitution to not uphold the Constitution in their jurisdiction. This is why when I say to you about the Constitution that the word immigration doesn't come up in the Constitution, okay? And so it's not a power that's been delegated to the federal government. And the 10th Amendment of the Constitution says that the power not delegated to the United States by the Constitution is reserved to the states and the people. That's what they call the, states' rights. So immigration is a state power. It's a state power. The southern states are responsible for securing their own borders on the southern part of America. Now, is the federal government immigrating? Of course they are. We know there are immigration laws, but they're immigrating people into the District of Columbia, the United States. All the paperwork about immigration brings people, all these aliens that come in, that they want to make them legal, are coming in as resident aliens, when many of these aliens are not residing in the District of Columbia. That's a fact. It's a stinking mess, but they're not saying many people don't realize there's multiple definitions or meanings of the term United States. 1945 Hooven case showed there were 3 separate and distinct meanings. The second definition is the federal government. The definition for the word United States is the District of Columbia. It says so in the tax code. Look it up in 7701. You can look it up in Title 26, 7701, or Title 26, 3121. You can see that the definition of the term United States is the District of Columbia, as well as the definition of the word state is the District of Columbia. And so they have authority by the Constitution to govern themselves any way they want to in their jurisdiction. And of course, one of the things that's in their jurisdiction is the federal 14th Amendment citizen that is subject to the jurisdiction thereof. They are also in that jurisdiction. That's why federal laws govern the federal citizens. Or you could say all U.S. citizens. It doesn't govern the state citizens, and those citizens are that citizenship is based in habitation and domicile in the states. As it says in Article 4, Section 2, of the Constitution, the citizens of the states are entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. That's a reference to the state citizens in the Constitution that was written before the 14th Amendment or 1868. So when you understand that, you realize, I mean, how would you feel if you figured out that the federal government is actually upholding the Constitution? And it's the Constitution that's the problem, believe it or not. Okay? They should have never given them that kind of authority. They should have required them to uphold the Constitution worldwide. That means not violating, that would mean that everybody on the planet, the Bill of Rights protects. And the truth is, it does in the states. You know, it's not an American thing if in that idea. All it does is govern the federal government, but it should be the standard by which our government doesn't violate anyone's rights at all without exception. Okay, that would be the best, but that's not the case. We murder people all the time. So that's going on. And so what Trump ordering, listen, executive orders are for federal citizens and resident aliens. That is true because those citizens are subject to that jurisdiction. But the president can order the people in the executive branch. He doesn't order the Congress. He can order them with respect to being citizens, if you will, of the District of Columbia. That would be true. But they don't, they don't order the court. We have 3 separate branches, and they're supposed to be checks and balances. Unfortunately, they're all working in cahoots towards the same tyranny. And when I talk about the Constitution or scrapping it or whatever, the thing about it is that despite having a constitution, I mean, a federal constitution, our government, the federal government, is practicing communism directly. Okay, we're pretending, and again, we're not a democracy. That's what every one of these stupid politicians refers to America as a democracy. It just tells me, I don't know that I believe that they don't believe that, but that's the propaganda that we're a democracy. Look it up. You won't find the word democracy in the Constitution or anything. The thing about it is, if you look up and you read the founders on democracy, you'll know that they're not a good thing. Mob rule, the majority rule, doesn't secure your rights. But if you've ever read the Communist Manifesto, and if you've ever looked up the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, our Congress has adopted all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. So we're literally practicing communism. So that's what's happening. So really, it's astonishing in that regard. And again, when you're dealing with, don't put so much pressure on the president. Okay, first of all, he doesn't have the authority that people thinks he does, and he's not a legislator, so he can suggest bills. And of course, if he's heading up, if the president of that, of the party isn't the leader of the party, then there's something wrong there. But they usually will set the tone for the Republicans or whatever the deal is, bills that are submitted to the House and or the Senate. That's how it works. If you don't know how bills are passed, and this is true for the federal as well as the state in the same way. Okay, every state, as you know, has a constitution. So we have dual constitutions. But anyway, the president, can do certain things, and they do them all the time. But he's talking about abolishing the IRS. That's funny. That's never going to happen, The president doesn't write the law. The legislature does. They have Title 26. So how do you think they're going to repeal that? Now, the president, as the executive branch, determines if they're going to uphold the law. And of course, they can be compelled to uphold the law. But the idea is that they have discretion. But the thing that's valuable to the government about the IRS isn't even the taxes. It's the control. That's the purpose and the benefit of the IRS, and it serves the central bankers. And then they're able to check every bit of how you spend your money. What kind of a violation is that? So the control aspect is what they really like, to be able to threaten people that they'll be audited or they'll be cut off in some capacity if they don't, file their personal income taxes or whatever the deal is. So it's not likely that's going to go away. You know, I refer to Trump as the pacifier, and I always will say, well, I believe everything he says, because, you know, he doesn't do everything he says. You know, there was a time where he was going to arrest and prosecute the Clintons. Now he's friends of the Clintons. And so, you know, it's just a stinking mess. And so, so I don't see any change to that. And one of the biggest problems that the president, as well as this central federal government, has is that there is the blind support of Israel. You know, now as I'm talking like that, it's not like I'm against Israel in and of itself. I put that in the same category as every other country out there that we support financially or whatever it is. I don't have any, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I don't have any, any dedication to Israel as if that's the biblical Israel. Okay. It's just, and listen, I hope you hear I'm not talking about Jews. Okay. Because there are plenty of freedom-minded Jews on the planet, and certainly in America. It's got nothing to do with a person's religious belief in and of itself or what have you. But listen, a Zionist or someone who supports their government, and government's always force, above all other people on the planet. And it's not so much that, you know, a government would favor its own people. That's a normal thing, I guess. But when you're going to violate other people because of your own belief about yourself, that would be like what they call that nationalism. That's a bad thing. It's bad when Americans do that. It's bad. George Washington was clear about, you know, being kind to all nations, favor none. And Israel's a prosperous country. They have plenty of money. They don't need our billions of dollars over there. And the new thing out there now is what? This administration's saying they're going to level Gaza and they're going to rebuild it. Let Israel destroyed it. Let Israel rebuild Gaza, for crying out loud. But you know darn well they're not going to build that back to what it was. Of course, they're going to encroach on whoever was violated in that whole ordeal. I mean, this is intentional. And if you don't think there's false flags and that there's military operations that look like it's against us when we're facilitating them, so we can believe, you know, the people can believe that. I mean, you've seen V for Vendetta, right? The whole idea is that when your government is, be careful who your government calls your enemy, because it may not be your enemy. It may be your government's enemy. And when governments want to control other nations or other peoples, that's a breakdown. So again, none of this is, here's another thing that I think is a brilliant principle to understand. Because being critical of anything or anybody, listen, if you want to speak racism, you have a right to speak as you see fit. Okay, nobody has to listen to you. You can't compel anybody to listen to you, but you have a right to speak any crap coming out of your mouth. Okay, whether that's racist or whether that's stupid. All that people need to do is get out of the way and listen to someone and determine it's stupid. Okay, and so if you can't criticize the people, that's how you know they're in charge. And so the idea of shutting down First Amendment, you know, people's free speech because they can't talk bad about a people is just a crock of crap. And comics enjoy the First Amendment and they criticize everything and everybody. And so if speech is anti-Christ, look, Christ can handle it. But there is a protection. You don't want your government governing your speech. Your morality should govern your speech. You should choose, the standard of Scripture for your speech is let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace to the hearers. That's a great moral standard. It's all encompassing. But if you want to be critical of a particular people or even a particular religion, well, then God bless, you should be able to be critical. And you may be, or I may be completely wrong, but that's not enough to censor. And that's how you know there's a breakdown or a problem, is when this government, the Trump administration, wants to practice censorship on criticism of Israel. Okay. And I'll be glad to talk about the biblical, from a Christian standpoint. The church's support of Israel is not biblically based, because what God is calling Israel may not be what is over there now. And of course, there's history that you can determine that that's not the same thing. And there's all kinds of other stories about where the true Israelites are. But you'd be hard pressed to point to Israel and say that's them, because there's all kinds of other stories that I'm aware of. And, I won't get into all that, but there's plenty of data on that. And let me say one other thing about that's why I would tend to say that I oppose Zionists. And again, that's when I say that, it's about their government, not their people. You can despise the Chinese government without despising Chinese people. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm critical of our government. I'm not critical of America. I mean, you can be critical of the people, your own neighbors or the people in America if they're making stupid choices. Listen, America should have been a city on a light on the hill, and should have been exporting concepts of liberty and freedom, and so we could be the best example of liberty and freedom. We're not. Land of the free, home of the brave. What a crock. So I'm critical of that. Why? Because I think I want something better. And I don't have to leave my birthplace, for crying out loud. That's another thing Trump wants to change, is if you're born here, you don't have a right to be here. Our southern border is a screw up, and it's what's screwy on the southern border only is the federal government. End of story, full stop. And be careful when your government builds walls, because it's designed to keep you in. That's what walls by governments are made of. When people make walls, it makes good neighbors. When governments make walls, it's going to keep you in. Just look at history. Has there ever been walls? Oh, geez. So anyway, so that's some of the problem, what's coming up in the administration. Again, just look it up, that every congressman has an Israeli handler that supports Israel, like what do they call it? Like a lobbyist, if you will, for every member in Congress and the Senate. I think there was one guy that was refusing that. That's sad. And it's not, listen, I'm not supportive of Iran or Iraq or any of those other Middle Eastern countries. I have no favoritism over there. It's a stinking mess. And they fight over real estate. That's a stinking mess. And I understand it from a biblical basis, what the origin of that family problem is. They all claim Abraham as their father. And so these are Abraham's offspring fighting with each other. It's a mess. And Americans aren't going to go over there and clean it up. It's not going to happen. There's no peace over there unless there's the Prince of Peace over there. And that's not quite going to happen. So it's pretty wild. So I'm not. And look, if Trump did many of the things he said he wanted to do, great. If he checks the central bankers, the only thing that I really support him doing right now is decentralizing or taking away or dismantling the federal government. God bless him. Hope that works out. Well, I know. And then what happens is, after 4 years, what it'll be? If the Democrats get elected, it's going to be a mass growth in government. Oh, yeah, of course. And they don't even, they only balance the budget by taking on more debt. They're serving the central bankers. It's a stinking mess. It's not, and it's just going to be a passover. But here's what it is. Here's what you get a bead on what's really happening. This, because you got the 25% tariffs. The people pay that. Understand? Businesses pass that crap along to the people who buy it. So he's not hurting anybody but Americans. And then with those negotiations, Canada and Mexico are funding. What did he say? $10,000 or something, or some minuscule amount of money is going to a border. Oh, I know. It's just a mess. Yeah, Canada and Mexico are a problem. Our only neighbors are the problem. What a mess. So Again, you got 4 years of this. My concern, the biggest concern of the Trump administration, it's going to be advancing with his team, advancing the surveillance state in the name of protecting us from the boogeyman. So it's just going to be funky. So again, I'm a freedom guy. I don't have any political, stake in that game. I'm done with the union. I think we should scrap the whole thing. Make America states again. Hey, speaking of America, make America states again. Do we have a picture? Do we have a picture of that? We'll have a link to something, Michael. Oh, I don't think. Yeah, we'll set up a link. I have a bumper sticker that says DC with a red line around it. Excuse me. Like no DC, and then it says "Make America States Again." So I have a bumper sticker that's going to be available. It's on its way here, and so if you'd like one of those, I think they're $5. Do friends and family on PayPal. We'll send you a bumper sticker. So yeah, we'll figure out some sort of link in the video down below if you want to make America States Again bumper sticker. So anyway, that's some of that, and then. So I don't have a lot of hope for the federal government, what it's doing, but they are resigning positions, and that's good. Hopefully the next 4 years after Trump, they won't buy them all back up, which is possible. But what I was saying was this is what a banking collapse looks like. By doing these tariffs, it's killing the economy, and this is where the bankers continue to lend money, or they're not printing money. They're lending out more. It's just a stinking mess. So this is what it'll look like with a banking collapse. So that's all I'll do that. So, okay. So where do we get on the client call? That's good. I'm going to go through these questions on there. We got a handful of them. The client call, if you're a client, and we'll determine that, but you can email us at statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org and just say that you want to be on the client call. And then what we'll do is we'll send you out a link so that you can get on that. And so that's you can do that. And again, we'll look you up and see that you're a client, and then we'll send that to you. So that's how you do that. There you go. And thank you for that. Let's see if I get some. Okay. That's great. Client and destinations and the request. Okay, good. That's awesome. My question for the Q&A at the end of tonight is thank you. I really want to know how bar attorneys and CPAs take this information. Are they usually aware of 3 definitions in the United States? Oh, that's a good question. Let me just tell you, okay. Tax attorneys know as much about liberty and freedom and how to stay out of the federal zone as your doctor knows about how your body can heal itself. Not much. Yeah. So just because someone has a degree doesn't mean that they have anything in their bag of, in their head. Okay. Freedom is a spiritual concept. Okay. And so it's not a governmental concept. So if a person doesn't seek truth and want to be free, they're going to just go by their instructions. And listen, if you want to know how good an attorney is during COVID, if they wore a mask, not a very good attorney. Okay. Doesn't read, doesn't understand. They're just people. Okay. So, and CPAs are even worse, if you will, than attorneys, because a CPA doesn't know the law. They just know they're certified public accountants, means that they're taught by the IRS how to fill out forms and how to do the paperwork. That's a CPA. Okay. And so they don't know tax law. They never read it. They don't look it up. Okay. It's not their usual. And a tax attorney could, or should know the tax law, but many times they would understand that there are terms. They would understand those concepts. Okay. But when I was in Southern California, and I had in my class, and I've had in my class before, other attorneys, when they understand these concepts, they get it, because they may understand the concept of jurisdiction, that there are statutory citizens and things like that. That's all real. Okay. And you can look at court cases and see all kinds of things. These ideas that we promote are not our own. So I certainly was taught these things. And there's a boatload of data out there. But if you're not looking at the data, then you don't know. I mean, how many attorneys think that the news that comes on ABC, NBC, CBS is accurate or truthful? I mean, if attorneys are only doing what the court tells them to do, then they're really only protecting their own personal economy, and they don't really care about their client. The client is not number one in the hierarchy of an attorney. The court is number one, client is number two. They'll never violate the court to protect the client. Doesn't happen. Courts have a lot of discretion. They use the term like may a lot. And then with respect to the other parties in the court, they'll use shall. And so you have obligations from the parties to be governed by the courts, but the courts are a mess. And even if you have a just court in some idea and you have an unjust public servant, then you're certainly not going to get justice in that capacity either. So that's the idea of the attorneys and CPS. Are they aware of the definition of the United States? Some as a concept would, because you know that Gonzalez or whatever I want to say he was like an attorney general, or he was some I think he may have been he may have been attorney general under Janet Reno. I'm trying to think of Janet Reno under the Clinton administration. Anyway, this guy Gonzalez was in court testifying, or he's testifying before Congress or something, and he made reference. I remember listening to him. He said, "There's many definitions of the term United States. Which one do you mean?" And again, that's a known thing. So people know there's different meanings to that stuff. So yeah, they may or may not know. Someone asks, explain. Yeah, elephant and donkey critters. Yeah, that's the truth. Hey, look who it is. It's my older brother. All right. It's good to have you on the call. That's how you know he loves me. He puts up with me. That's good. Yeah, look I'm like the most blessed guy around. I got my son over here in the office, and I got my brother in the broadcast. Now that's love. It's warm and fuzzy. Greetings from Miami. See you in Acapulco. All right. Somebody else is going to be in Acapulco. I know of at least 3. I think there's going to be more. We're going to see some clients there. That's going to be excellent. Looking forward to hooking up and buying a round of beverages, or maybe we'll end up going out to dinner, doing something. It should be fun. That's awesome. Then someone says, what do I think about Trump's proposal to ditch federal income taxes? If that's true, can you explain why we still need to do the passport process? Well, first of all, it's not going to ever happen. Just because he proposes it doesn't mean anything's going to happen. The Congress is the one that makes the laws. The president does not. And of course, the IRS does fall, the enforcement of that, it does fall under the executive branch. That is true. And so whatever he can do with that may be well enough, but it doesn't change the tax law. Okay. And so now if that is implemented, that's great, And look, if there's no income tax, that just means there's no income tax. That doesn't mean that federal citizens aren't still governed. All federal law governs U.S. citizens and resident aliens, whether they're taxed or not. So it's still a jurisdictional concept. If you want to be regulated by the federal government, then remain a federal citizen. So the passport process is just a passport process. It doesn't change anything. What I'm making up about you is that you've never been a federal citizen. No one ever came along and said, hey, would you like to be a federal citizen subject to the jurisdiction of where you're promised privileges and immunities, or would you like to have rights protected by the Bill of Rights? That might be a different choice. See, so anyway, yeah, that's that about the IRS. Not likely, but we'll see. Zachary says, if someone owes the IRS, will that debt go away going through the passport service? Well, I'm making up that you might not have owed that debt, but does the IRS, the passport process doesn't eliminate what activity the IRS is going to do, because you got to remember the IRS is doing exactly what they're doing based upon your own testimony under penalty of perjury. Okay. So if you've ever filled out a tax form, they're going by your lead of what it is. So you have to deal with those errors to deal with the the tax code or that obligation. You have to play that out. They're going to go looking for a third party to give them your money. That's the normal pathway. And we have responses to those letters and all that. And once you've done these processes, then at least you'll have certified copies of your passport file signed by the Secretary of the United States, that that you're saying under penalty of perjury that you're not a federal 14th Amendment citizen. The Vatican has walls. Yes, and the Vatican is a separate nation within Italy, that nation. And yeah, that's a jurisdictional thing. But the Vatican is also separate, same way that the District of Columbia is separate from the states. It is a jurisdictional thing, and they do look at that. That's right, Alan. That was Thomas Massey that doesn't have an Israeli handler. That's right. And Nozak, Unreal. Okay. So is that be my sisters on that? Oh man, do I get the love or what's that? My sister's on tonight. Oh my God, I get the best family. Listen. Oh, that's so awesome. So yeah, there might take a stand. My sister's on the call tonight. That's just the best. Yes, I love you. Thank you so much. I was just, one of the best things about Facebook is you see all three of us siblings, and even my brother Mark, who's on Facebook as well. In any time, we can do a group chat, and all four of us be chatting with each other, and we do that all the time. It's almost embarrassing. We're almost chatting daily. That's how my siblings and I we're so close. We're current with where we are. We're always knowing what we're doing and what's going on. And we'll have coffee together in the morning, and it is just the best. Or we'll have beers or whatever. It's just the best, So I am truly blessed to have such great siblings. And so you should have great siblings too if you have your family out there. And if that's not worth having Facebook, I don't know what else is. It's one of the best things in there. So don't you want to? Yeah, that's the beauty of that. So you got a beer now. All right. Hey, I should get a beer now. I got a beer in the fridge over there, but I'm being kind with my black cherry polar seltzer. And listen, this is not, well, maybe it's an endorsement. I get no money for the Polar Company for endorsing their product, but I gave up high fructose corn syrup, and I don't go with any diet drinks. And it was amazing. I remember when I was giving up, I went from cola products to like Sprite, and then and that felt lighter. And then eventually I went to sparkling water that didn't have any sugar in it and had some flavor, and so it was even less sweet, and I just acquired the taste for that. So that's where I like sparkling water now, and I probably drink more water because of that. No, I think there's some flavoring there, some natural flavoring. So, but the idea is that it's so much more refreshing than that, and I'm not. So that's all good. And someone's on it says, I have lots of crypto and have paid taxes in the past. I'd love to go through the process and claim my sovereignty. Well, that's awesome. I can't imagine that. Thank you for putting that up there, Michael. Yeah. So, and again, the whole crypto community, it's awesome. If you don't have an income tax liability, then yes, you're going to be able to keep all of your earnings. But the thing is that you're going to need to do KYC properly, or go with privacy platforms that you can protect your privacy. Okay, that's a big deal. And listen, my suggestion is we're big fans of privacy coins. And the beauty of basically crypto, and again, not all cryptocurrency is the same, is that you're doing transactions. Many of the people who don't support crypto will say, it doesn't have inherent value. Like the dollar has inherent value. It does not. Okay, it's just debt. But even gold and silver makes a bad currency, because you can't carry around all your gold and silver because you may get robbed. Okay, so you want that protection. But the idea of doing a transaction in which a bank isn't in the middle of it. It's just you and the other party. And there may be fees from a miner or whatever that creates that. That's not, you're not doing those transactions by permission. You're just doing them. That is a blessing of its own. And so, Michael just mentioned there are gold backs. And my brother, Mike, he likes those gold backs. They're beautiful. I have some in my wallet, but they are gold. They're 1/100th or 1/1000th of an ounce of gold or whatever. And they have different types of denominations, if you will, but they are gold, real gold, and they're in a material that makes them really nice to keep in your wallet. So that also is gold and silver, and that's nice. But again, you'll have all your gold and silver on you. And again, that's not very secure. And so remember, don't ever forget that it was gold and silver that created banks, because people put their money in the bank. And then the banks, you wrote notes to pay from the bank, and the banks honored those things, and they paid out the gold when people would come to get the gold. That kind of banking certainly is better. But when the bankers found out that nobody was taking their gold out, they began to lend that money without, and that's when they began to create fractional reserve lending. So back to the crypto. So so if you don't have an income tax liability, then you're going to have to do different paperwork with your crypto. So if you take our state citizenship class, so you can understand who has an income tax liability. And the beauty of what we do is that, see, I agree with the IRS. And, one of the ways I find out if anybody understands these concepts, I just ask them, do you believe that the income tax is unconstitutional? And if you believe the income tax is unconstitutional, then you don't understand the Constitution and the power that it wields. And you don't understand exactly how that, who has the income tax liability. But we show you that in the class. I show you the law that obligates most U.S. citizens, if you will, or like it says in the instructions, all U.S. citizens, regardless of where they live, and resident aliens. And that's a resident of the District of Columbia. That's who has an income tax liability. So I wish you well with the crypto. Come on in. We're glad to take it. We'll take crypto with respect to these processes. And that's a good thing here. So anyway, so that's coming around, and we'd love to get to know you and help you out. So Anarcha, Hampshire. Oh, that's cool. We should do an event here in New Hampshire called Anarcha, Hampshire. That's awesome. We'll have to tell who put that on there. Did you just put that up? Oh, that's what they wrote. Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's cool. That's funny. I would like to do an event up at the Mount Washington resort up there in what do they call that, up in Bretton Woods, that they did. The International Monetary Fund was created there in New Hampshire. I want to have an event up there. I want to do a worldwide crypto event and help people and businesses get into the crypto community just by coming to New Hampshire and learning about cryptocurrency and other things like that. So that's all good. All right. So Zachary says, so when you file your taxes, I don't file taxes. So anyway, so when one files taxes every year, you're basically volunteering entering into the DC system. Well, no, that's not really what's happening here. Because listen, all taxation is collected under pain of death. There's no such thing as volunteer taxes. An excise tax gives you more freedom to choose not to enjoy the privilege. So if you're not enjoying the privilege, if you will, you don't have to pay the tax. That's the beauty of an excise tax. So the privilege of being a federal citizen, where the Congress is offering you privileges and immunities, that's why you're taxed, is you're part of that system. And of course, it's not voluntary. When they talk about voluntary, it just means you get to do your own taxes. And like you're going to sign under penalty of perjury that your tax form is true, correct, and complete. What the hell do you know about the tax code? Nothing. And yet you still signed it under penalty of perjury. We deserve the IRS because of just that alone. Why do Christians claiming not to tell the lie every time they fill out their tax forms, like as if they know it's true, correct, and complete. The IRS is going to tell them that and nobody else. Then here is Nano. Hello, Nano. Good to have you on. Once someone does the passport process, then becomes a contractor, they no longer need to pay Social Security, Medicare, correct? All that's correct. Yeah, when I stopped filing, I had no tax liability. I stopped paying into the, the senior welfare system. The Congress doesn't owe you a nickel from welfare, from the Social Security system, but yeah, you'll be stopping all that. And don't expect to support the big pharma through Medicaid and Medicare. That's just ways of getting tax dollars to those corporations, the medical industrial complex. That's how that money goes there. And it's crappy service, okay? Just so you know. If you think it's quality, you get what you pay for. So yeah, that's all there. You don't qualify for any of that. You'll have to be responsible for yourself. And look, we want to support you and show you that responsibility is the key or the pathway to freedom. And so the more responsible you are for yourself, the better. And listen, you don't need, well, let me tell you, we already have free healthcare in America. You get hurt, you pass out, you fall down, they're carting you right into the hospital. They're going to save your life. They're not going to figure out forms ahead of time. They're going to save your life. Now, you may rack up a bill and you can scrutinize whether you used all those services or not. And then listen, it's not debt. You can literally make a payment arrangement, say, I'll pay my bill, be responsible, come up with the payment. So you could, in an emergency, that is, you can set out, instead of paying for medical insurance, you pay your medical bill and forever how long. But see, then at least you're saying, I'm going to take care of myself, be safer, eat better, take care of your body, do those things, drink lots of water. There's plenty to drink because I don't drink any. Keep it down over there. My son always wants me to drink more water. I drink a lot of water. I drink Polar Seltzer sparkling water. New from Kenner. Anyway, yeah, take care of yourself. Because look, truthfully, I don't know where you are with respect to what you think of Big Pharma. But listen, if you got word of that you had cancer, would you really do chemo? Are you kidding me? Listen, check the percentage out. Just ask your doctor, how many people survive chemo? It's a very small amount. You don't die of cancer, you die of chemotherapy. It's like 3% survive the treatment. They move you to death so that the cells that are in there, and look, ask the doctor where the cancer came from. It's just bad. It's better for you to, listen, Big Pharma or the medical community is not the best place for health. Health is another place. Go take care of yourself, eat better, do better. That's where you restore your health. The hospital is the worst place to restore your health. All they're there for is to get you out of the hospital so that you can restore your health somewhere else. People die of all this Big Pharma and all this crap. It's not very good. Again, we have some of the best emergency care going. We can thank football for that. Let me tell you, the way they can bring your leg back and, you're not in traction because you broke your leg like they used to be. Nowadays, sports medicine has the innovation with sports medicine is phenomenal. If there's one thing that you can thank the high finance of sports is the sports medicine that came out of that. That's state of the art. And we can thank sports for that. That's a beautiful thing. So anyway, you don't have to be afraid. And look, if you're doing your own business, you can pay for your own insurance. You pass that cost on to your customers. Produce good value for people, and you'll be able to carry your own insurance if you want that. So, and yes, once you do these processes, nobody's going to take a tax stand while being an employee. You can't be an employee. And it's not so much that the W-4 form is, you're not going to fill out that form because the form allows the company to withhold. They're going to withhold Social Security. They're not going to take your tax stand with you. You're going to do your own business. And listen, it doesn't take rocket scientists to run your own business. It's simple. Listen, if a kid can take a lawnmower and start mowing lawns in the neighborhood, it's starting a business like that. Now, it doesn't have to be that. There's all kinds of creative, imaginative ways that you can be in your joy and do that as a business worldwide. And then certainly I would encourage you to use the internet, because then you can be anywhere and still do it. You don't have to get up in the morning and go to work. Do not get a job. Get a client. Get someone that you can serve, and they'll be glad to, utilize your service or whatever it is you do for them. Best thing you could do. So Zachary says, and thanks, Nano, for that question. That was a good. Zachary says, if someone doesn't go through the passport process or do it themselves, they basically required to file or face penalties. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not one that says our way is the end of all, be all, and all that stuff. But the bottom line is, there's a number of places you're asked, are you a United States citizen? You're going to want to have paperwork. It's an administrative remedy for these things. You're not looking for anybody to release you. You're not looking for the government to say, okay, this is okay. You're asserting yourself. Everything that you're doing with respect to taxes, forms and such are filled out under penalty of perjury. Do not lie. Always tell the truth. But once you see and understand it, then you're going to know how to do paperwork. And if you do these things on your own, that's wonderful. And I'm just saying, not everybody that does this kind of stuff and has paperwork is going to secure your liberty and freedom. Listen, there are people out there that allege to help people deal with IRS that are having people form corporations. That's business in bed with government. They're getting tax ID numbers. That's madness. That just tells me they don't understand the tax code, which is surprising because I know people that I'm not going to mention, but that's sad. But they are harming people out there. People are still having trouble. Listen, here's the facts right now. Ray, I have no clients that are dealing with IRS. We have people that come into our circles that are dealing with the IRS, and we have to help them navigate that. But nobody is dealing with the IRS that does these processes. We know how to navigate that space. And some of it is we agree with the IRS. So anyway, so Zachary, that's yes. And we have a full passport process where we do all your paperwork for you. And then you have access to all our alignment workshops. And then the people that'll do the passport workshop. And so they will do their own paperwork. We have templates and videos that show you exactly how to do things. And that's less expensive. But listen, all you have to do is look at how much you're paying in taxes every year. And it's not that much. Okay, these processes are a lot less than that, and then eliminates your income tax altogether. So it's a great deal, and we want to get to know you and assist you and help you on that. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be afraid. You can be knowledgeable. That's it. That's so yeah. Except for it doesn't say that on the 1040 form about to the best of my knowledge and belief, but that it does say true, correct, and complete. But that's the understanding that people go with is, you may believe something to be true, and that's the best you got is what you believe to be true. You can't be held to more than that. And then when you learn something else, you can certainly change your sentiment. That's all good. Well, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you, Zachary, and we'd be glad to hook up and hold a lot of hand holding and a lot of support for you. So we don't want anybody to be alone and all that. All right. Well, we got to the end of our hour here, and I'm thankful for you. And we might not see you next week, but I think sometime once we get down to Acapulco, we'll do a call, and hopefully you can be on with us, and we'll see you and have a good time. So let me see if I can do the closing music. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, how's it going to do that? All right, let's see if we'll do this. I'll bring this halfway up and see if we can close out with this. So once the music gets to that breaking, you don't want to do that? This is on the fly. Listen, it's going to be much better when Michael does all this stuff. This is yours truly as soon. So we'll close out with the way we opened. Actually, there is another sound file that I've used for closing. So maybe we'll hold off on that. Let me see. There's no way for me to find that on the fly. No, all right, we'll do this later. All right, we're going to close out the broadcast in peace. Thanks. That's right. In peace and quiet. Okay. Thanks so much. Be sure to like and subscribe. Love you all. We'll see you next time. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.